Let me begin by telling you a little experiment that I performed with some of my students. I had just bought a bike and I told my students about it and I told them how cool it was. And so they wanted to see it. I asked them, hey, come after school, I'll show you the bike. So they come after school and they were all sitting. And I asked them a simple question. But I'll show you the bike right after you tell me two things that you don't know anything about. So they all took out a piece of paper, pencils, and they started writing. A student wrote he wanted to know more about heart surgery. Another wanted to know how the fire engines work. Another wanted to learn French. So I looked at them and I asked them, if you know the name of the thing that you think you don't know anything about, don't you already know something about it? At least the name? So they started thinking, and there was silence in the room. And after a few seconds, one student stood up and he said, how do I know what I don't know? And so I walked up to him, I shook his hand, because that's what the message was. That's the message I was trying to get to them. You don't know what you don't know until someone tells you. I shook his hand and I said, congratulations, you're the founding member of the STEM Club. And that's how we made the STEM Club, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Our students don't know what they don't know. As teachers, it's our job to expose them to new information, to new ideas, to new avenues, to new doors. What they do with that information is up to them. But it's our job as teachers to share new knowledge with them. As I had promised them about my bike, I showed them my bike. And after we oohed and ahed about how cool the bike was, I picked up the rear end of the bike and suddenly the wheel started moving. I wasn't pedaling, but the wheel was moving. They all stood up. They got excited. How's this wheel moving? The pedal's not moving. How's the wheel moving? And then one kid says, look, I see a motor. There's a motor. It's an electric bike. Wow. They just learned about electric bikes. Before then, they didn't know about electric bikes. They hadn't seen one. They hadn't thought about one. They didn't know anything about electric bike. But now they know. They don't just know about electric bike. They know how it works. There's a motor that's connected to the chain. It runs the chain, and that's how the bike works. There's an accelerator that makes the bike go faster and slower. Remember, they don't know what they don't know until we tell them. So what is keeping them from knowing new information? What is keeping them from learning new information? Well, here's the answer. Take your right hand and keep it in front of you and keep it as far as possible. Now take your left hand and keep it between your right hand and your left hand. Now if your right hand is not too big, it should be obscured. The left hand should be keeping you from looking at your right hand. Now take the left hand and slowly move it towards your right hand. You can see your right hand now. It's amazing. Right hand, which is far away from you, is the information. It's the information that our students don't have. The left hand, well, it's the obstacle. These are all the things that keep them from knowing the information. This left hand, this could be the poverty that's keeping them from reading magazines. It could be lack of parental support. It could be the violence in their neighborhood. It could be the schools that are more concerned with tags, TEKs, and stars than they're concerned than they are with exposing the students with new information. It could be any one of those things. And remember, you don't know what you don't know. This left hand keeps our students from learning what they don't know. So it falls on us to show them what they don't know. As I said earlier, it's up to them what they want to do with that information, but it's our job to show them what they don't know. I had a student and I was talking to her about careers and what kind of job she wants to do when she grows up. And she said, I want a job where I get to sit and do my job. And I thought I heard her wrong. So I asked her, what do you mean sit and do your job? And she said, well, my dad works in construction, so he's up on his feet all day long. My mom cleans houses, so she is up on her feet all day long. I work as a cashier part-time, so I'm always standing. But I want a job where I can sit down. That was gut-wrenching. That made me think, what career information this student does have? What does she know about jobs? What does she know about sitting jobs and standing jobs? So I started a Google survey. I made a Google form, gave it to all my students, and I asked them to tell me what they wanted to do. The overwhelming majority of my students wanted to become 4 different things. They wanted to either go into military, they wanted to go and become cops, police officers. They wanted to become nursing or dental assistants, or they wanted to be a crime scene investigator or forensic scientist. Now, the first 2 I could understand. The third one I had understanding of, but the 4th one was puzzling. Why do so many of my students want to become forensic scientists? Why do so many of my students want to become crime scene investigators? And then it dawned on me. It's because there are 3 CSI shows running simultaneously on CBS. And then there's a bunch of other shows that deal with forensic sciences. My students look at those shows, they watch those shows, they have exposure to those careers. And since they have exposure to those careers, they want to go into those careers. They don't know what they don't know. But when they know, when they're told, they know. So they're interested in becoming crime scene investigators because they see it on TV. They want to become a nursing assistant or a dental assistant because someone in their family was able to get out of high school and get that knowledge, was able to get out of the high school and get that certification to become nursing assistant or dental assistant. They see cops all the time. They see people who come to their schools asking them to join military. So they have exposure. If you have exposure, you have interest. So I started thinking, what if we could take the same exposure and apply it to STEM fields? What if I could take a child who does not want to be a doctor or engineer or a scientist, and if I expose him to those careers and how those careers work, could we generate interest? So I took my STEM club, the STEM club or the math club. I took those kids to El Centro College at their math fun day. We were supposed to do fun things and listen to speakers, and they got to listen to a speaker. They got to listen to a female nuclear engineer. She talked to them about how she grew up, where she came from. She talked to them about her humble beginnings. She talked to them about how difficult it was, financially, academically, personally. They were able to listen to the story of this female nuclear engineer. Imagine, you're a child, and the highest educated person that you have ever met in your life is either the doctor that you go see or a cop that pulls you over. Or in your family, the highest educated person happens to be that nursing assistant or the dental assistant or the office manager. Imagine you're that child and you get to meet a female nuclear engineer. My girls wouldn't let her leave. They cornered her. They sat her down. They asked her a million questions. And when she tried to leave, they cornered her again at the door and they asked her more questions. And I was standing there. I'm standing there and I'm thinking, my God, what have we done here? We have given these students, we have given these children new information. We have given them new questions. Now they're going to get new answers. And based on those new answers, they'll be able to make more diverse decisions. Some of them might go into engineering, some of them might go into sciences, some of them might go into STEM fields. Remember, they don't know what they don't know until you tell them. We told them about a female nuclear engineer. Now they know. Now some of the female students want to be that. Just like they wanted to be a crime scene investigator, now they want to be a nuclear engineer. Some of them are not going to go to college. Some of them are not going to become engineers and scientists. But if you could take one child who was not interested in becoming a STEM, going into a STEM career, if you could take one child who was not interested in learning about sciences and technology, and if you could change their mind and get them to go to college and pursue a career, haven't you made progress? Haven't you created change? So the question is, why as teachers? Why does it fall on us? Why do we have to do it? Why can't the parents do it? Why couldn't the community do it? Why couldn't the rest of the world do it? Well, remember the electric bike that I made? I'm a married husband. I'm a married person. And I feel that I'm a very well-trained husband as well. I wake up every morning and I apologize to my wife for all the things that I'm going to do wrong. And at night before going to sleep, I apologize again for all the things that I may have done wrong, even though I tried not to. And I feel fortunate that my wife stands next to me all the time, even when I'm performing my weird experiments with my electric bike. And the electric bike that I made, it was something that I feel very enthusiastic about. It was something that I felt very interested in. And once I built it, I started riding it to school as my regular commute. It became my regular commute. And so every time I'd ride to school, some student would stop me in the parking lot and would want to talk to me about the bike. And it seemed like I had become this walking, talking, exciting, enthusiastic poster for alternative transportation and for electric automobile. I didn't plan to be, but that's what happened. And so I started thinking, if my excitement towards my electric bike generates this much interest in students, why not take that excitement and use it to generate interest towards careers in STEM fields? I mean, think about it. Who's the most excited? Who is more excited than teachers? Who's more enthusiastic than teachers? I take a social studies teacher. Who else can be more excited about talking about differences between communism, capitalism, and conservatism? Only a social studies teacher would be jumping up and down talking about those things. Take a science teacher. They get excited talking about classifications of bones based on their size, density, and shapes. You couldn't get anybody else excited about it, but they're excited. So if they could take that excitement, that enthusiasm, and channel it towards providing students with information towards STEM careers, imagine how much more interest we could create. So why doesn't that happen? It doesn't happen because they don't have time during the day. During the day, they have to worry about TEDx, the stars in the heavens, and the stars test. That's what they have to worry about. So what do? We start after school clubs. Just like the STEM club I started, we do after school clubs. We gather the kids and we show them the information. Remember, they don't know what they don't know. So we tell them, we teach them, we expose them to information about careers in STEM fields. What they do with it is up to them, but it's our job to show them, to teach them. I was going to start my talk with an Arduino joke, but I didn't know how many of my listeners would know what Arduino is. Arduino is this small circuit board that allows you to make prototypes, electronic prototypes. So you can take a board, attach some LEDs to it, and you can program that LED to blink at a certain time. You could use the board to get the garage door to open at a certain time, or there have been projects where people use the board to water the plant. When the plant needed water, the plant would actually tweet you, and then you would get watered. It's a beautiful thing. It's incredible. While I was working on my electric bike, I learned about it. So I bought a kit and I practiced with it, and then I wanted to share the information with my students. So I went online and bought some cheap replicas, and then I got 5 kits, 5 cheap kits, and I gave them to 5 different students. And something amazing happened. Once they knew what the board does, they started coming up with ideas that I hadn't even thought about, ideas that hadn't even crossed my mind. And so here I'm looking at these kids and I'm thinking, what difference does $5 or $6 make? It makes a lifetime worth of difference. You take a kid who's not interested in science, who's not interested in technology, who's not interested in going into a STEM career, and you give him this $5 worth of circuit board, and then you show them how to use it. And while you're showing them how to use that circuit board, you show them how to do math, you show them how to do coding, you show them how physics work, you show them how electricity works, you show them everything that you wanted to show them in the classroom, but they were just not interested. But now, because of that $5 worth of circuit board, they're interested because they want to make that LED blink. And once that LED blinks, you got them. $5. It makes a lifetime's worth of difference because you remembered that they don't know what they don't know until you tell them. You told them that they can make this LED blink, and they made it blink. Once they made the LED blink, now they want to move the heavens. And they can. It's just a matter of time.